Hey everybody, what's going on? Double Deuce on the loose here. Today we got a welder, one of them jewelry welders, and it's pretty cool. But I'm going to go over a couple of things with everybody. The reason I bought it was because I followed the link to Johnny Q90's video because he uses this welder, supposedly, he says, in his videos. So grab your favorite smoke, beverage, and popcorn, and we'll go over this thing real quick. I probably won't do any welding inside because it's kind of dangerous. So stay tuned. Here we go. All right, so welcome back for the brief pause there. So I was really intrigued by that welder that he uses, and couple $100, $300, they're all over the place. I bought this one. It was an open box, but it was tested and it worked, and so it was pretty cheap, and it came with all the fixings, all the equipment for it and everything. First off, it comes with a diamond wheel. You plug this into your USB port and it turns on automatically to grind down your tungsten tips, which they give you an assortment of large and small tungsten tips there, and the ferrules that clamp them in. So you have a good supply of those. So from what I understand, the smaller the thing you're welding, you're going to want to grind the tip down to a point here, you see. So, but let's go over some of the features of the thing. It has an argon regulator with the thing, and I had mounted mine right to the side. They say you don't need argon to use this. I do have questions, and we'll get to that in a minute about the argon. In the back, they have your plug-in. You got your argon fitting here. They just push in. A little plastic connection there. You can push it and pull the hose back out, just like so, and then just push it back in to lock it in. Your on and off switch is over here. Your plug comes where you can remove the cord. It's about a 2-3 foot long cord. Let's go over the dimensions. Okay, this thing is 11 inches long from the base where it sits on your table. It's 9 1/4 inches high, and it is 6 inches wide. So it's really small. Now, with the argon setup here, it comes with extra hose for you to put it into an argon tank. Now, this particular brand, there's all kinds of names for these welders, and that confused me. So I've been watching all these reviews on this, and it's not a welder you're going to be welding a frame up on your truck, your full-size truck. I'll put it that way. This is for tiny, minute stuff, and I'll get to that too in a second. But it's the Tooltos welder. Okay, so it kind of gives you a breakdown of stuff inside, how what it is and everything else. And it does have different settings here for your what you want to weld. You got gold, chromium steel, and your hybrid, which is probably you want to weld, say, copper and steel or aluminum together, which none of these are really explained in any of the videos nor the book. You got titanium setting, and you got your ortho, which would be like for stainless steel braces, stuff like that. Now, when you turn this on, it automatically goes to the ortho setting. So we'll crack it on. You're going to see it's going to tell you to wait for a second, and then it'll say it's ready. So here we go. Okay, now it's ready. Little green light, so you're all set. Now you see it's set automatically to the ortho setting here, which is 6 on your milliamp seconds for your weld time, and your power percentage is up here. So it's on 2 and 6. So you can change them around. You can select how long you want the argon to pulse for. Go back and forth. And they say you don't really need argon. You can weld without argon, so I don't know. But it comes with 2 grounds and 2 attachments here in the bottom. One is a screw in, you just sit it down, screw it in. And this one here is actually a plug-in. Now, it comes with an Allen wrench to put your base together because your base is all apart. This does come off so you can use it like a pencil, or you can keep it in here if you need both hands for something, and you can weld. You know, you just, like a pencil, you just pinpoint stuff and hit it, you're good. So now, like I say, I was really intrigued by Johnny Q90's stuff, because it was like, you know, he builds his frames and all that stuff, and you know, he does spots and then continuous. So when you do continuous spots, it makes it stronger. Now this is a cold welder. It doesn't really deeply penetrate, because I'm used to welding car stuff together, frames, you know, with a MIG welder, and I've never really got into TIG welding, which I probably should have, because I got such a small work piece sometimes, you know. But I will probably get into that down the road for a TIG welder. They do sell smaller ones, you know, they're like hobby stuff. So now it's a dangerous machine, okay? You're not going to want to like leave it laying around your house for your kids and all that. And 2, the argon, all right, that is extremely dangerous to have inside your house. Because if the bottle leaks, what it does, it takes the oxygen out of the air, and then you suffocate. So that's an important thing. You always keep your argon bottle outside, no matter what. I mean, you know, even in a garage, it's open and vented. You know, that's why garages ain't, you know, sealed up like a tomb. But when you change your settings on here, all right, this is for gold, it changes the settings automatically. And it's your chromium. See how it jumps up, gives you longer pulse time. And here's your hybrid. It actually drops the power down and brings the pulse time up. And here's titanium, same thing, and your ortho. Now if you want to custom set this, all right, put it on any setting and just say, oh, I want more time. What happens, these lights go out, and you can custom set your own pulse time and your power. Now it goes up to 10, that's it. And your pulse time goes up to 30. So, you know, that way there you can get a good sync on something if you want to weld. Now I don't know what settings Johnny Q90 uses. Getting back to the argon. I was kind of confused on that because, like I say, these welders have all different names. They all look the same, and you know, it was like, and you're trying to get some, I guess, some guidance and truth to see exactly if it's worth it or not. So my idea to buy this thing was, when you're building, I build a lot of chassis and brackets and stuff like that, and to weld them together with a MIG welder, okay, it's hard because the MIG welder is such a big, you know, it's 23 thousandths or 30 thousandths wire coming out of there, and it makes a big ball, you know. So if you're really trying to tack weld something really tiny or really thin, it ain't gonna work for that. You're gonna need something like this. Now, if I build a frame, you got to set it up in a jig. You got to, you know, have everything perfect. And to try to do that, hold it down and weld it and hold the piece, it's almost impossible. So What you want to do is tack it. So this thing here, this needle comes in and out. It just, you know, jump up and come down and whack it and give it a nice little tack. So that way you can tack stuff together if you want to braze it, weld it, solder it, or whatever from there. That way it's not going to move on you, you know. Or if you want to do this like Johnny Q90 does, he just pulses and goes right along one over another and stitches over itself, and it's a nice strong bond. And like I say, his frames that he builds, he takes them out and beats on them pretty good. So, you know, apparently, you know, I've seen reviews on this where people try to use it for the hobby, you know, and you can weld aluminum with it. You can tack aluminum together, and you know, it shows them saying, "Oh, it's junk," and they're trying to rip it apart, and you know, they're really working at ripping it apart. You know, on like, say they do like 5 pulses, and then they try to tear it apart. Well, you know, if you do all the pulses all the way around, it's gonna each pulse you put on there is gonna make it that much stronger. And being that we're not going to be hauling a super amount of weight, or you know, our hobbies are hobbies. We don't take our cars out there to intensely smash them into trees, unless you're Kevin Talbot. You know, he likes doing that. So, but the thing that confused me about the argon was, when you're welding aluminum, you need straight argon. When you're welding like metals and steel, sheet metal, you need argon and carbon dioxide. So you need CO2, argon, 2575. But they don't mention anything about that. You know, so, you know, for years everything was soldered in the jewelry market. Now they got this welder. So this is all uncharted territory, you know, even though these have been out for a while, a few years here or longer, you know. And but see, now they've got laser welders and stuff like that. You don't want to use a laser welder in your house, you know. And even in your garage at home, your hobby garage, you got to be really careful with them things, because you can burn holes in your legs and your car. It's just unbelievable how powerful those things can be. So I have tried this out with aluminum. I had a couple of thin aluminum plates, and I had just tacked them together. And yeah, you get a real dirty weld out of the aluminum, because one, the aluminum was dirty. I didn't clean it first. And 2, I had no argon. You know, you'll get that soot around it. But if you have like a little brass brush or stainless brush, you can clean it right off. And you know, if you want to use this only in weld, do a couple of welds here and there, and then clean it, and then go in between them and clean it, you know, and keep your work area nice and clean. This will put up some really nice pulses. So, you know, with the tungsten grinder, you know, if you're welding something super minute, you're going to want that down to a point. If you're welding something bigger, I would think you'd just leave it alone and use the bigger needle, and that way there you get a bigger weld for your RC frames, brackets, stuff you want to weld together. So I don't know, but like I say, this is it's all uncharted territory. I bought one, and I'm trying to put some truth into it. So far, what I've welded, you know, I've welded on some, see how that automatically just set back to ortho? It'll do that automatically. You know, so far I tried it on some of the steel brake tubing, and it has some nice tacks on there. I could use a little bit more heat, but you know, like I say, I got to be outside to do it, and it's hard for me to get outside right now. And you know, it's like I am very limited to walking around stairs carrying stuff. But in time I will, and you know, we'll get more in depth with the welder. But from what I played with so far, I think it's pretty cool. I think it'll be good for super small brackets. Say you're building a frame, and you know, you butt your pieces up nice and clean, nice and tight, and use what you basically do is you use the 2 pieces of product you're working with, and you fuse them together. And you know, I think it's cool for the hobby with really small stuff. So anyways, guys, my next video is going to be on ignition systems for the Toyin and Sisson V8s. I got an idea that hopefully might shield the electrical interference from the ignition systems. And I've been playing with it a little bit, and I think I'm on to something here, so that'll be my next video. So like I say, hope this helps if people want to, you know, come up and get into something like this. It's, you know, when you buy something for your hobby and you're spending $300 or more, you know, it's got to be a hard decision. And when you get it, you know, you don't want buyer's remorse, you know. But it also comes with some extra tubing here, so you can hook up your argon bottle to your regulator. It doesn't take much, but like I say, just be super careful of that stuff, because if it leaks in the house and all of a sudden you come out and your dog's laying on the floor and he's dead, you don't know what happened to him. He's suffocated, and you're next. So, you know, they don't tell you that stuff. They make it look like, oh, it's like, you know, it's like, let's have coffee and donuts and chocolate milk and it's all cool. But this is a very serious machine, so be careful, you know. And one thing that I forgot to put in my video, and I'm going to squeeze it in between here, is like the dangers of welding. Okay, it can kill you. Okay, if you know, you have a sloppy work area, it's wet, things happen. But one thing they don't mention, like I say, they make these things look really easy and all that stuff. If you have a pacemaker, okay, and or your friend has a pacemaker, and you know, is it going to like interfere with this pacemaker? You know, that's the thing too. Like high energy CDI units, you know, ignition coils, anything that has like electrical interference can interfere with people's pacemakers. We got a new welder at the shop. It was a spot welder, and you know, it was like you work hands on with that thing, you know. And you know, the thing is, though, if you have a pacemaker, you're gonna hit the floor, you know. So it's anything like that. Always be cautious, because a lot of people in the hobby are older, and the reason they have a hobby is because maybe they had a pacemaker put in one time, and you know, now they're just enjoying life. So don't let your hobby hurt you. You know what I mean? So the argon, it's dangerous. The pulse that thing puts off, that's electrical. You know, it's dangerous, and you know, so just keep those things in mind. You know, so that's all I wanted to add there. Sorry, guys. Loved all. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, and I will catch you later, and I'll be back with more cool RC builds. Adios.